Hey there, and welcome back to these Conversations with No One, where I attempt to share my experience of living in a somewhat non-identification state with duality. These third conversations were meant to be me sharing my thoughts of the moment, and in order to stay true to that intent, I'm going to have to change them up a little bit. When I started making these conversations with no one, it was important to me that these conversations didn't focus on who I am, because I want them to be about the experience and not tied to any identity. And I still think this is the best way for me to share my thoughts and perceptions of what I'm experiencing. I really have no interest in becoming someone, creating an identity around having these conversations. However, I also feel there might be some value in relating how my inner experience informs the daily life of my character, and vice versa. So if you'd rather continue hearing my experience described in the abstract, then conversation 3s would be a good thread to skip. So, as I may have mentioned in the last two conversations under conversation 3, I struggle with having these in the moment talks, because when I'm in each moment, I'm not actually creating thoughts. Every conversation I try to have in the moment would be exactly the same. Peace, gratitude, appreciation, wonder, which are all valid and wonderful things to share. But on their own, sharing that would lack any relevance to the external world, the dual world, and would provide no real insights. Sure, it's lovely. It really is. And I've also felt restricted when making these conversation 3s by not grounding my feelings in real world events I was currently experiencing. To mention those things out of context would be confusing to anyone listening, and I feel would detract from the experience itself. So I figure the only way I can really do this conversation 3 is if I bring both the dual and non-dual experience together, so I can actually share my thoughts of the moment more authentically, in context. And, well, to do that, I should probably introduce you to my character. Not as an identity, though, more as a collection of choices made manifest. So, my character is currently 56 years old, and he's pretty much become a total cliche. He's been living, working, traveling on the West Coast in a converted shuttle bus for the past 6 to 7 years, all of which began around 4 or 5 years after the paradigm shift. And though he was a corporate office worker by day for most of his life, he now makes what little money he needs doing landscaping, pet and house sitting, and other odd jobs for friends. And though he also used to spend his nights and weekends performing in, attending or producing sometimes rather wild and crazy alternative shows and events, his external creativity has been hibernating while he focused on the inner journey, but also learning how to live life again. He's currently making the Portland, Oregon area his home base, where he's found inspiration for engaging his external creativity again in a new way. So that's him in a nutshell. And with that out of the way, I can honestly say life is now full of abundance. These past years learning to live life in a semi-converted shuttle bus have been a challenge, filled with a lot of things other people might say were pitfalls and disasters and setbacks. Been filled with times with very little resources and no money. But thankfully, my inner state of non-identification with my duality and the peace and gratitude that gave me transformed what might have been a painful or miserable journey into a beautiful one. I got to experience a new perspective on life through my new paradigm, and even the worst parts were also the best. At this moment, I admit to feeling a little adrift. And strangely, that's because there is no struggle or hardship at the moment to focus on or work my way through. Just opportunities and abundance. My Spartan lifestyle feels practically luxurious. And having this much comfort kind of takes some getting used to. A year ago, maybe a year and a half, I realized that my hometown of Seattle, that I'd been spending a lot of my time in, I had been traveling up and down the coast for at various times, but it ended up getting stuck in Seattle for quite some time. I realized that the city wasn't conducive to people living off the grid like I am at the moment. The city had changed a bit to be less tolerant. So I drove to Portland to see what it would be like to settle in a new city for a while. This was the height of the pandemic, and it was pretty quiet. And I got a chance to spend a few months just enjoying the backdrop of new places to explore. I ultimately decided to spend the winter months camped in a friend's backyard in Seattle, where I could have electricity and access to running water, and use that time to build up my solar energy system in my bus so I could head back down to Portland, this time better prepared. And ever since I returned last spring of 21, I felt very much at home and welcome. I've always felt that one of the secrets that I've always followed to enjoy my life is to go where people appreciate you for who you are. And I'm pretty grateful that for me right now that's here. My only plan at the moment is to stay here as long as things are flowing, and if that pulls me somewhere different, I'll follow it. But being nomadic for me doesn't mean that I have to keep moving just for the sake of moving. It means that I get to spend my time and energy where I want. I can choose it at every moment. This lifestyle has really taught me so much and given me the time and freedom to really get to understand myself and my experiences, both dual and non-dual. I'm not sure I really could have manifested this experience when I was younger, when I still had the responsibility of family that required me to have a particular income. I'm thankful my paradigm shift didn't happen any earlier in life because I got to fully enjoy those experiences without all those dual experiences to bring to my paradigm shift awakening. My understanding of duality would be woefully under-informed. I'm extremely grateful for the way that experience grounds me and connects me now to the struggles of others. But I'm also grateful for the space I have now to explore my own experience without the need to compromise it. I'm grateful to be able to make all my choices from a place of intent and establish healthy boundaries so I can connect to others with authenticity and integrity. I'm not sure I could have done all that while also working a 9-to-5 and maintaining a romantic relationship or partnership. The beautiful part is that now that I've learned what I have, I find I bring those things to any new situation I find myself in. I can be true to myself and others, be at peace and act with intention, despite the circumstances now, which at some point actually even brought me to jail for 4 months. But that's another story. Every old connection I have, or new one I make, is based on this, and though I may have a lot fewer connections in quantity these days, the quality brings me all the satisfaction I need. So, there it is, snapshot of my character and his story. As I said, future conversations in this thread, Conversation 3, will be sharing his dual experiences and how those experiences are processed from a place of non-identification with duality. I feel like it's an interesting new phase, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I think that's it for now. Thank you for listening.